Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our show. Welcome back to the Swell Surf Collective Experience podcast. We hope you are having a fabulous week. And hopefully, wherever you are, there are waves. We are so grateful for all the blessings in our lives. But here in Los Angeles,
waves are not one of them.
We have been starved for, I feel like it's been 4 months.
I feel, yes, I feel this. I feel similarly. Even up in Ventura, it's been very hit or miss in terms of like just even swell, like even regardless of the water being dirty from all the storms, we just haven't had like a lot of swell.
Yeah. And in case you don't know us, I'm Jordan. I'm the founder of Yoni Swell Surf Collective, and this is Ariel, my dear friend and collaborator. We lead retreats together. She's an amazing person, stylist, creative director, and we welcome you back to share the stoke and basically just talk about surf and empowerment and what that means for us, how surfing in the ocean is a resource for improving our lives on many levels. So actually, yeah,
if we could just get in the ocean, that would be great.
And also on top of that, like spring is here, but here in Los Angeles, spring is cold.
Spring is cold.
And actually this weekend, it's meant to be 74 all weekend and sunny. So we are hoping and praying.
From your lips to God's ears.
What's going on with you? How is life?
Life is busy. I had one of those moments where like a lot of the things I've been working for started to come to fruition, which is really cool. And it's all happened across the past, I would say, week and a half. I'm starting a brand, as I've talked to you about, and I have some resources that are going to make that happen on a really quick level, just from my fashion background. So I'm excited about that, but also, you know, when like you've been working for something and then all of a sudden it comes true and you're like, oh crap, now what do I do? now I have to do it, you know? So there's been that element, and I always get like a little imposter syndrome. I don't know, maybe we can talk about that at some point, but I always have this thing where I'm like, well, why do they want to work with me? Like, why do they think that this will work? And I'm like, which is, if you read anything about that, it's kind of a dumb thing, because like, if you're having the conversation, if you're in the room, people already believe you should be in the room. So that's just your own issue, right? That's my issue. But I've kind of been experiencing that this week. And then I had a Mohs surgery. It will be 2 weeks this Tuesday. You can see, I'm going to go close in.
Oh.
You can barely see it.
Yeah, no, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew about it, but
it's like a little red and a little bit raised, but basically, and I kind of want everyone to hear this because we're all in the sun a lot. I had a spot on my nose that for most people wasn't super noticeable, but for me, it was really noticeable just because it wasn't something I grew up with. It wasn't something that I found aesthetically pleasing. It was kind of expanding outward. And when I had like a lot of sun exposure, it would get kind of brown and sometimes flaky, but it would never go away. So I went to my dermatologist to basically just get it burned off. I'd had it burned off at one time before. They kind of freeze it off. And because he's a good doctor, he said, let's biopsy it and make sure it's nothing. I don't think it's anything. Turned out it was something. So we biopsied it. And there's a specific kind of surgery for, I believe it's hands, face, and ears, anywhere where you're really trying to preserve the skin. That it's called Mohs, Mohs. And basically they take tiny little parts of it and biopsy it as they're doing it to make sure it's completely removed, and then stitch you up from there. And sometimes they have to take skin from other places to cover it, depending on how much they took out. But I got really lucky. They got it in the first round. So they just kind of stitched it.
Hmm.
So at the same time that all these amazing life things were happening in my fashion world and like having these great meetings, and I also got a really great new styling client that I'm working with. I'm walking around with this like massive stitch in my nose and like a piece of flesh colored tape on it.
Hmm.
So I started telling everybody it was a baby shark bite,
Yeah.
and just full on like serious. Like I wouldn't even give an explanation because they all know I surf. So I was like, yeah, it was like a baby shark bite. And they're all like, what? I'm like, yeah, like right on my nose. Just
Yeah. And they didn't question you at all though?
like it took them a good like 30 seconds for them to be like, no. And I was like, no, it
Yeah.
was cancer surgery. But I just thought it was a more fun way to kind of like talk about it. But in summation, my vanity saved me, because if you have a weird spot and you don't think it's supposed to be there and you don't like it, get it checked out.
Yeah.
It could
Well,
be something.
and then it was a obviously it was good that you went, got it taken care of. It was a humbling experience
It was
and
humbling.
a friendly reminder for all of us to continue wearing sunblock and just be mindful and aware of what we're exposing ourselves to, right?
Yeah. And like know your body. If you think
Hmm.
something looks weird, because I remember my boyfriend was like, whatever, babe, it's just a spot. Like, don't worry about it. Don't be stressed about it. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, this just looks bizarre to me. Like, I'm not into it. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that everything worked out, obviously, and
me too.
everything's okay. And
And now,
congratulations
thank you.
on
Thank you.
everything that's happening.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have full confidence in I was thinking about you earlier this week, like she's going to get what she needs to start that brand because
Yeah.
you're so well connected, and I'm learning through my experience as a business owner with Swell Surf Collective is like, not everybody is ready to utilize surf as a spiritual practice or like as a way to empower or heal themselves. Whereas like you have like and when they're ready, they will find us. But for you, like you have a tangible thing. Like my mom would always say, well, it's like you're not selling shoes or like you're not like promoting a brand that is shoes. Like everybody needs shoes. And so we all have a unique offering. And so I just feel like for you, it's really in the cards. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a brand around the lifestyle of surf. So I wouldn't have come up with it from a fashion perspective if I didn't surf. So there you go.
There you go. Right. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and welcome in Kayla, and it says that I have to let her in, but I don't have that notification.
If you go down to participants,
Yeah, I did.
it should be like allow or something like that.
I just, yeah, I don't even see that she's trying to get in. Let me send her the link one
I'm
more
the
time.
worst with technology. So that's like my only
Um,
trick other than restarting.
One moment.
It is sunny out here. I will say that much. But it looks like I live by a lake. An ocean lake.
I also need to say too, because I'm talking from a business perspective, like Swell Surf Collective is a community first, and that's number one, to always nurture the community. Although we do have offerings that make it a business. And so I just want to clarify that no matter what, it is a community first and accessible for all to join and to participate. Sorry.
Okay. What's going on with you this week? What's going on with your life besides all the things we talked about?
Um, Yeah, for me, I'm actually going through a lot of personal turmoil and ups and downs. And from an astrological point of view, uh, my birth chart has not let up since uh, perhaps 2016. And currently Pluto is squaring my moon, which lives in my 7th house of Scorpio. And that essentially is just removing and completely gutting me to the core in terms of what no longer aligns with or serves my soul's intention and my truth for the future, for like the next cycle, the long-term cycle. And there's other ways to break that down, but essentially, yeah, I'm being confronted in every direction to release and let go and surrender and to trust. And it's really scary, but I'm embracing it and getting to know the person that I truly am. And for me personally, from a spiritual point of view, like this is the lifetime, and it's in my birth chart. I literally have 4 planets squaring the nodal axis. And what that means is I came into this life to resolve unresolved things that have to do with all the archetypes of those planets. And so basically, I have resisted for many, many lifetimes simply out of fear and distrust because I've experienced lots of abandonment and betrayal and just like being in really difficult situations. That might be TMI, I don't know, but the spiritual journey is rough, but it is worth it and it is empowering. And at the end of the day, like this is the lifetime that my soul decided we're not doing that anymore. And so it's very intense. I don't know if that answers your question, but I feel like there's other people out there who are going through it, something similar perhaps. And so I feel the need to share.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're going through a big transition,
Yeah.
it sounds like for you, it's touching all your things, right?
Mhm.
Relationships, money, business, family. Those are like the 4 main things in my mind. And to have it all at once is like super intense. The other side's amazing, but until you get there, it's a lot.
Yeah. It's been going on for a long time. And um, I have risen above it in many ways. And those are all Venus themes, actually, which Venus, I have to talk about it from an astrological point of view because that's how, like, emotionally, that's how I resonate with it. And so Venus rules all of those planets that are squaring my nodal axis. And so this is the lifetime that I chose to come back and reclaim my self-value, my value of self, my to heal my relationship with all of those Venus themes. And so, yeah, what you're speaking to is very true. And it requires courage and vulnerability to even admit that, you know? Um, so yeah, I'm getting hit pretty hard right now. But that's when we rise to the occasion, I believe. So it's all is well, all is totally gonna be okay. And I just think it's worth talking about too, because I'm back in school to become a therapist. And I'm really excited about how through astrology and through life's ups and downs, I can really help people, you know, move through tough times like this.
Yeah. I always think the best therapists are the ones that have actually had the experience, right?
Yeah, I believe
Hi, I'm
that's true.
trying to figure out how to get this on my computer. I don't know why I'm not on the right link. Let me see if I can figure this out.
Hi, Kayla.
Hello. I don't know why this isn't working. Let me see.
On your laptop, you're using the same one that I just texted you that
Yeah.
you're on right now?
It's the original one that you emailed me.
I mean, it's the same link, but just try, do you need me to email you the link that I texted you?
Let me try this. Let me see if this works. One sec. I think this is working.
I'm just
Okay,
gonna keep eating my breakfast through the technical difficulties.
we're on now. We're live.
Nice. We're live. Welcome in.
Thanks. Sorry, that was wild.
Hi, Kayla.
Hello.
So Kayla, this is Ariel.
Hi, Kayla.
She is one of my dearest friends. And when I created Yoni Swell Surf Collective, it was already created, but she was just like a very important person that I met along the way, very strangely. And she's been a huge
I
part
stalked
of-
her. That's why it was strange.
and we lived on the
best way.
same street, and I would just I don't know how long she was stalking me for, but I would
was a
walk
long
by
time.
with my skateboard, or I'd drive by with my surfboard, and then one day
In
and
her
then we
cool
both-
truck with
we
like
both
her
had-
cool
Oh.
dog. And I was like,
both
who's
had-
this cool girl?
yeah, and she's like, "Hey, can I be your friend?"
Yeah,
Or
basically.
like,
I was like, do
"Where
you
are
surf? Can I be
where are
your
you
friend?
going?
Like,
I was like, well, yeah, come with us. We're going. Okay. Anyway,
So
so yeah,
fun.
when we go to Nicaragua, we lead that retreat together, actually through Ariel's contact. And anyway, so we're hosting this podcast together because we are both women who learned how to surf as adults
Mhm.
and have found our footing. So we're speaking from the perspective of like being a female or just being an adult surfer who learned as an adult with the resources that we were able to find. And we know that there are others like us in this experience. And so we're just here to like talk about that and hopefully bring forth messages that are positive and help other people through their journey. And so that's why I wanted to have you on here, because we met at the gym,
Mhm.
and which was also serendipitous for myself because I had no idea who you were. And I just thought like, oh, that's so interesting, as I learned later that you were a former pro surfer. And so I've always wanted to pick your brain and probably take, take my own lesson with you, or like maybe even run a workshop with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, welcome. And how are you doing today?
Good. I just started at F45 too, a little side training and stuff. So I trained this morning and I'm good, but really excited to be here with you guys. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah. I'm
Kayla,
so-
how are you a pro surfer? You look so young. Like, were you a pro when you were like 12?
So
Like,
my
when did you
my,
start the circuit?
my face is not aging. I don't know. It's not
Oh,
good. I have
feel
like the
sorry for
perpetual-
you.
No, but I have like the baby face that I get carded no matter what. Like it doesn't matter what I do. So no, I started competing. So I learned how to surf at 5, and then I started competing at 12. Kind of
See,
went
I wasn't
pro.
that far off.
No, you weren't far. I'm still 12. No. And then I started competing at 16. And then I went to college, and then I traveled the qualifying series circuit for like 6 years. So I did that from like I graduated college. I was on a plane to Australia the January after I graduated. And then I basically did the whole QS grind, like the qualifying series grind, for like 6 years until I was like, this is just exhausting. And it was really fun, but it was straining. And I was working in between to try to afford to do it. And then just, like, I think as you kind of guys have mentioned, like things just really aligned themselves really well post surfing, that it set me up for like a really cool life in surfing still. But yeah, so still 16, but I did all that.
Congratulations. I like that. That's rad. Yeah, that circuit, I feel like that's an interesting thing because you kind of lived a dream, right? Like people work so hard to get there. And then it's like you get there and you're like, oh, wow, this is a dream, but like this is really hard. I'm tired. I have to also work in between, like, holy crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they call it like the qualifying grind, because really, I mean, either you get stuck on the qualifying series for 10 years or you qualify your first year. It's a different experience for everyone. And it's like, it's really cool getting to travel the world. But if you're not winning, it's really frustrating. You're like, okay, I flew to Japan one year and I probably spent $5,000 to get there and lost first round. So you're like, okay. You're like, well, there goes all my money. That's awesome. So like cool experiences that I'll never get back. And it's like a time of my life I'll never get back. But it would be nice to win a little bit more, so you're making money back. But really fun times. I did win sometimes, not to feel like I lost all
No,
the time,
I'm sure you did. But like, you have to remember you're competing with like the best of the best.
I mean, everyone could be on tour. That's the thing, is you have 500 girls competing for 6 spots. So
it's insane.
Mm.
Yeah.
How I know we have some questions to bring up, but in terms of just like that statement, like how do you feel you handled that? Like when you put that into words, and looking back, like how does that make you feel? Like how did you handle that pressure? Or was it pressure? Did it feel like pressure? Did your connection with the ocean help you like really move through it?
Mhm.
Yeah, what was your experience like?
I think I had built up this thing in my head that I'm very very strict on timelines. Like I'm always going to be doing this at this age. I'm going to be doing that. So I knew what I'd be doing. I knew the day I graduated college where I was going to be. And I think I had built it up in my head that it was going to be something that it really wasn't. And I think I spent so much time like anticipating getting there. I kind of forgot to like enjoy being there. So I'd go to events and I would lose and be frustrated and be like, oh, this is so annoying. I'm done. I don't want to compete anymore. And like, I think I went through these really weird cycles of like, this is what I told myself I was going to do. And it's like, if I'm not, I did well, but I didn't qualify for the tour. So it's like when you don't feel like you're succeeding, you're like, okay, like I spent my whole life working for something that's like, I've hit the point of life I want to be at, but I'm not like getting to the next level. So you're kind of like, what do I do next? And I think you go through these weird phases of like, I committed my entire life to something, and it was really fun in the moment, but the losing is tough. And like anyone will tell you in individualized sports like tennis and surfing, you were losing way more than you're winning. And I think getting to adapt to that and like using situations of, oh, I learned, and looking back now, being a little bit older than 16, I'm able to see that I have learned a few things. Like you look back and you're like, oh, that was a really like defining career moment, or I made a heat there, or I made connections in Australia. So in the moment, you're just frustrated. You do really well and you want to win more, and then you'll have a strand of really bad results and you're frustrated. But I think all through it, I'd probably do it all over again, but definitely frustrating. I think you go through questioning what you're doing. Why am I here? And then you get the high of highs. Where you're like, oh, I could do this forever. So a mix of emotions. I think you don't know what to expect when you're entering into like a pro sport world, but I think that was your question. So it does. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I relate to what you're saying because I played competitive golf from a very young age and was really good from a very young age, and traveled a lot from a very young age. And it was very like different for a child to experience. And I actually got progressively like not as good as I got older, but I still maintained it through college. Won a golf, like a college tournament in college, or through that experience. So I maintained like this idea of what it was. But when it was time to just let go, I was okay to just say, you know what, it's time. Like we had like we spent our marriage, like that was our marriage, and it's just time to like gracefully like go our separate ways. But I bring that up because as an individual sport, golf is very similar to surfing.
Yeah.
Surfing is definitely harder for many reasons, but golf is extremely hard for its own reasons. And it really has you like in this constant questioning of yourself and like being able to like pull yourself out of that mental cycle of the frustration or of the losing streak is very challenging. But eventually over time it like brings so much perspective and wisdom,
Yeah.
I think, and so
Well, you can't blame a teammate. That's the
No.
problem. Like I played group sports, and you could be like, oh, like so and so played terrible, we lost. But then when you lose, it's like same thing. It's like a very self, like, okay, like I did not perform to a level that I should have that day. But I like what you said too about like when it was time to let go. It was like I think it was like this really like freeing moment. Like, okay, I've done it. I'm ready to like let go of the competitiveness of it. And like now I'm like relearning just to love surfing. Like it's so much more fun now. It's like I actually go in the water and like enjoy it. And I'm not like, who's watching? And are we training hard enough? And I think that's kind of where you guys are at. Like surfing's just so fun. And I think getting back to that is really special.
I love that.
It's interesting. I mean, I'm like weirdly competitive, so I feel like sometimes I don't have fun because no, it's true because I surf a lot with people who are better than me, so sometimes I get into that weird comparison game, and this is by far not like at a competition level by any means, but I actually struggle with reminding myself that I'm supposed to be here for fun, and that it's not a big deal if you didn't do that little turn you've been trying to do and you fell off. You know what I mean? Like, it's just have a good time and laugh when you fall. And so that's like actually quite in my mind.
And you realize like no one actually saw it. Like I had it in my head that everyone was watching every little thing, and they still are. And you're like, no one is really like,
Nobody saw.
No one cares. Like everyone's doing their own thing. And
Yeah, totally.
so no, but I agree. I'm still like sickly competitive, so I won't like suppress that side. But
yeah. In terms of like your relationship to the ocean, no, like one, you can't control what the ocean is doing. So how do you handle that surrender? But also just like as a person who's been in the water for so long and wants to continue participating in the water as a surfer, do you have a personal intuitive connection with the ocean? How would you describe that?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the ocean. I've been surfing since I was 5. I think it's how I connected with my dad. It's how I connected with my brother. It kind of brought our family together. So I think I always had this thought of like, oh, I'm in the ocean. I'm with my people. And like I met my friends and I like that was just my growing up upbringing was like we go to the ocean and all my friends do it. And it's just like this really fun thing. So like the ocean for me always brings back that time. Like I go back to the 5-year-old girl who learned how to surf in the ocean with my dad because I wanted to be like my brother. So the ocean's always been this like really like safe space for me. And like even with the ocean ever changing, I mean, I almost drowned in Mexico. It's like things that it's definitely rocked me. But then you come out better in that. And I heard someone say the other day, like surfing is all about like getting through failures. It's like a metaphor for life. It's like, you know, you get knocked down, but like you get back up and you're better for it. And I think those moments of like letting go, like to your point, like you kind of have to surrender. It's like the ocean does whatever it wants, whenever it wants. And I've never felt like the ocean's like not a safe, like it's always my safe space, whether I've gone through that, you know, really scary experience or like whether it's I'm back to being 5 surfing and with my brother and my dad. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those spaces where if I'm having a bad day, if I need to let go, if I need to release, like I will always go to the beach. Like I just need to get in the water and I immediately feel better. Doesn't matter what, like life just goes on. If I can find 30 minutes just to go catch a wave, I'm immediately a different person. Like my mom would be like, you have to go surf. Like you're being really annoying, go in the water. So there's something very healing. There's something that you can just kind of let go of what's going on. And I think it kind of reminds you like there's so much more going on in this world than these little things that I worry about. Yeah.
Where do you surf
Uh,
now mostly? Like where did you grow up and where do you surf now?
So I grew up in Jacks Beach, Florida. So I grew up surfing East Coast, pretty small, traveled all the East Coast growing up. And then now relocating to LA a year ago this March, I would say I surf like Manhattan Beach, I'll surf Malibu. I hate crowds now because I don't have to surf them, which means I'm probably like in the worst city in the world. But
Yes.
like Porto, Manhattan Beach, I will go surf the worst beach break in the world just to avoid crowds. But it's just still fun to me. It's like what I grew up surfing, but Malibu on a good day, and you know, Manhattan Pier, all that.
Yeah, I hate the crowds too. They're the worst.
It's so bad.
It's so bad.
But then I add to it. And then me going out adds to the crowd. So it's like
I know.
Do you have any opinions about like, because I actually prefer a beach break because it usually has less crowds and I love the Manhattan Beach area. So I always like to go south. Whereas like Ariel, she loves point breaks and she'll usually go north. And so we actually don't surf a lot together, I guess maybe for that reason or just like convenience. But yeah, do you have any, I mean, because Malibu's a point break, but like, do you have any opinion about what you prefer or like anything at all that has to do with that?
I mean, I would probably pick a point break all day. Like I grew up surfing lower trestles for nationals and for USA champs and stuff, but it's an amazing wave. But the problem is the wave's so good and everyone wants to surf it. So from a crowd standpoint, I would take a beach break that I can go surf for an hour and do my thing. But if I had the time and the space, I would probably go to like a Malibu or trestles and just surf because one wave at trestles is better than any wave I've ever caught at Porto. So it's well worth the wait. But that's why we should take a surf trip. Let's go to Mexico and find our own point break somewhere.
Yeah.
I know a
I
place.
love that.
Yeah.
I can't say it on here.
Don't say it here. Yeah, I know.
Oh, I love that. Okay, cool. So let's talk about like what you have upcoming. Like what are your goals moving forward and how does surfing play a role in that at this time?
So surfing for me is a lot different now because I'm on the management side of surfing. So working at the World Surf League, I've gotten to see this entirely different perspective of I went from competing on tours that I probably complained about all the time to now being on the management side. People are complaining and you're like, but I see it from a different perspective where it's like I understand the growth of the sport and where it's going. And like it's really exciting to be a part of that and like to be a female in the sport. I work for a female boss as well, who's like the only chief of sport, I believe, in sports. And I think it's just really exciting to be a part of a sport that's growing. It's equal prize money. It's I just want to be a part of that. It's to kind of see the sport grow and evolve and have more women come and surf. Because growing up surfing, I was the only girl in the water. And even now, like at Porto, I'll see like 1 or 2 girls. And I think the idea that you're getting women in the water, and I think what you guys are doing is so great. It just it needs to realize like surfing is for everyone. Like women can surf. It's not just a male sport that they're going to paddle out and let you catch a wave. So I want to be a part of that, just a part of welcoming everyone into it and then seeing the sport evolve.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I have a random silly question, which I hope the answer is yes, but does everyone that works at the WSL surf?
That is a hard no.
Really?
Yeah, we're a mixed bag of people who worked like ESPN, who have worked at just kind of all over the world. So it's you
Just
get
like
a mix.
sports people.
We are sports people. I think everyone's dabbled in surfing. What's cool is my area, like I work in the tours and competition. We're all like former pro athletes or pro surfers, sorry. So that part's really cool because we all kind of have that in common. We all have competed at different levels. So whenever dealing with athletes, you can kind of be like, I've done it. I understand it. I get why you're saying that. So
my boyfriend Morgan lives in Ventura, and so I surf up there a lot, which is really cool. And the two pros I see up there the most are Dane Reynolds and Sage Erickson. And Dane is a fantastic surfer. I love watching him, but I totally have like a girl crush on Sage, and I'm too afraid to like say hi to her. Even though she's like very friendly, she always smiles, like whatever.
Yeah.
But she's just like, she rips, and I'm just like, I just want to be friends with Sage.
She's so nice too. You should just talk to her. She's like the kindest human too.
No, she seems really nice. Like I bump into her at the grocery store and she just smiles. Like she just seems like a nice girl. And like I'm like, oh, there's Sage. Like I get all like weird and like celebrity in awe. Dane, I could give a shit, but like Sage, I'm like,
no, like girl surfing's become really cool. Like meeting pro women surfers, it's like a really cool thing. So Sage is great,
But yeah, they're always fun to catch in the water, and just see like their grace and their speed, even on like the crappy little waves, you know, like just when we're getting in the water. And then there's Dane like doing whatever, some air on like a 2-foot wave, and I'm like, what is happening over there?
It's so different. Like watching people surf, people who don't even surf, like, oh, I can definitely tell there's a difference. Like when someone like Sage hits the water, it's like, wow, it's effortless.
Exactly. And like very fast. You're like, what just happened?
Yeah. Like, how'd you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, one very important question before we move forward. Is the WSL hiring? Because I'm available. I'm just kidding. I'm actually not kidding. I mean, I've definitely applied for jobs there before, but we have things in common. I'd be great there. So anyway,
it is funny. A lot of people, it's funny because it was always like a dream opportunity for me. And then when I got it, I realized like what a dream job it was. And then I'd have people call me like, how did you do that? And I'm like, I couldn't tell you how I did it. Like just right place, right time, right people.
It probably has something to do with that whole like pro surfing thing you did for like, I don't know, 25 years.
A lifetime of experience.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
It was a couple like snowballs, just really unique things that happened that just led into like building relationships that led into something else later down the line, like things you don't realize, like meeting someone would have led to something else. And like I did a TV show during the pandemic, and that's actually what led to all of it. So really fun.
Yeah. The Ultimate Surfer. Is that correct? Cool. Yeah.
How was that? I actually didn't watch it. Is that bad?
Sorry, well, that's why we were a one and done season.
Damn it, it was my fault. I knew it.
No,
I knew it.
The thing is the show is really catered to like an actual surfing market, and like on a channel like ABC, that's just not quite the vibe. You know, it's like they tried to overlap The Bachelor in our show, which I personally love because I love reality TV, but it didn't really play well. But the show was amazing. I got to surf at Kelly Slater's wave pool for I was at the ranch for 5 weeks.
Oh my God.
A wave I never would have gotten to surf. I never would have been invited to surf. And then it was like a really big growing experience. It's kind of like, Jordan, what you were saying, it's like I kind of knew I was done competing after that. Like I was like, I can let go. It's like I've done it. I've gone as high as never gonna go. And then I ended up meeting my boss and our CEO on that show, just stayed in contact. And then when a role came open, I went through the application process and interviewing, but it was just such like a natural, seamless process. Like once I got there, but I mean, it was a year and a half after filming that I even applied. So a lot of things in between that happened, but
super
that's
cool.
Awesome. Very cool. So for anybody who's listening, and definitely those that we know in our community who need like a reminder or advice, insight, or like a love push, because we've learned that all of us go through the process of self-doubt, especially when you're surfing or doing something that is very unfamiliar, that is very scary, perhaps because of the ocean.
Mhm.
Like, what insight would you have for anybody, that would like thrust them forward into just going for it?
I think it's like, don't be afraid to fail, maybe is one. Like surfing should be fun and like you're gonna fail. I fall all the time. I mean, I spent my entire life doing this and I still fall. And like I think there's even sometimes like I'll paddle out at Porto and like in the most humblest of ways, I'm probably one of the top surfers in the water. And I still think like I have this complex of like, oh, I probably shouldn't be out here. Like maybe I should paddle down. It's kind of crowded. I don't want this. So it's, I mean, I think we all feel it. Everyone thinks it no matter what level you're at. But to your point is like I think you have to own your space in the water. You need to own that you're out there and like you're just like everyone else and you deserve to be out there. And I'm teaching my own self that. It's like, be confident in who you are, but like also like, I think it was like if you fall, like no one's watching. No one cares. And honestly, probably someone's gonna be more excited that you're trying versus I think you're just never gonna regret going for it. And that's probably in everything, but I don't know if that's advice. That's more just like a spiel I went on just now. But
No, that's,
yeah.
I would call that advice. That's
Yeah.
insight. Yeah, for sure. Anything, Ariel, how do you feel about that? What would you share?
Immediately when Kayla was like, nobody cares if you fall. And I was like, I know, but I care.
I know you care. I'll think about it all day. I won't put it down. I will think about if I end on a bad wave, I think about it the rest of the day. It's like ruined my week.
No, I can't. I actually
Yeah,
can't.
it's not good.
I will try my hardest unless like something really happens to end on like a better note, just because
I have a rule. It's in my
Yeah.
rule since I was little. I was like, you can't go. Actually, that's my dad's rule. I wasn't allowed to come in until it was a good wave. Then I can't break it. So at least like come in on a really good note. That's always my aim.
I'm totally with you. What else? I don't know. I think it's good advice,
Well-
right? Because like if you don't try to do like some sort of new maneuver or whatever you're doing or take a wave you're not confident about, you probably will fail, but you'll be happy you at least tried it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm reflecting on my experience with golf. You always wanted to end on a good shot. So I get that. Let's end on a good wave. But here's where I get maybe in the weeds. Or I just like I ponder this a bit. For those of us out there who have a wave count requirement,
Hey,
because
don't
I am
do
not that
anymore.
person. I'm not that person. And I respect and love anybody who is that person. But I was about to say, motherfucker. No. No, I like as a very playful, loving way, like, yo, bro, like, yo, sister, like, we have no control over what the ocean is doing. So, like, aren't you stressing yourself out? Wouldn't I be stressing myself out? I'll take responsibility. Wouldn't I be stressing myself out if I were to require a wave count? And if I don't get that wave count, we can always think for the best, we can always aim for the best case scenario. But do you see my point? Like, what is the value in having a required wave count when you have no control over what that ocean is doing? So like, do we have any thoughts around this concept?
I mean, I think to each his own. That's what you're into. Great. I'm more of like, if I paddle out and I have an hour and I've caught 3 or 4 good waves, I leave like very content. I'm like, hey, I know that I surf really well in a couple waves. I've gone out in the water. I was surfing in Jacksonville last week and I caught 1 wave. Like I had full intentions of surfing. The waves weren't great. It was, the tide was changing, whatever. I caught 1 good wave and I was like, I feel really good. I'm going in. Like it really is. And I was the same way competing. I'm like, even warming up for an event, if I surf really well in 1 wave, like I just don't need to go catch 10 of them. Cause usually you're going to get frustrated. You usually get stuck in the water. I'm like the queen of like not being able to catch a wave in. So I'll sit out there forever and be like, oh, one more. And I never get to leave. And then I'm at. So it's like, to me, I don't know. It's like whenever you feel good, it's like you're the idea of putting the pressure on, if I have to catch 10 waves, it's like, it ruins the, I think, being in the moment. You're just counting in your head. You're like, oh, it's 1, 2, 3, which is, I mean, it's awesome. Like I used to have a watch that would count my waves, but I think it was more of a deterrent for me than it was like a help. But whatever you guys like, that's good too.
Where the surrender is. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I was first learning, I was really into the count because I was working really hard on like making the wave happen, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
at that point, you're focusing on the timing and like when I was focusing on the timing and like getting into the wave and riding it in an effective way. Like,
Mhm.
but for me, it was important to count how many I did that or how many I got before I felt like I would had it more of like a reaction versus like a thought. But now, thankfully, I moved to more of the stage that you're at, where I'm like, hey, I was out there for an hour. This is what the ocean gave me. I had 3 amazing waves, and I'm stoked. I'm out. I'm not going to stress myself about it. But I think it's like different phases.
I think
Funny.
go ahead. Sorry, I said the learning phase. I totally agree. But
Yeah, the learning phase, because it's like at
Mhm.
that point, it's almost like, or at least at that point for me, it was like exercise and like muscle repetition, right? Like you had years of that muscle repetition.
Yeah.
In my mind as an adult learning it, I had to make up for those years. So it was just my way of like keeping track of like, okay, like usually by the time I hit 5 pop-ups, I feel confident, like I feel good,
Mhm.
right? But now it's not like that. And I was just out of the water for a little surgery for a week. And then I went in the water in Ventura Point and I had a really great like 3 waves. And I was like, awesome. I finally reached that crescendo where like I don't lose everything just because I can't get in or the waves aren't there or whatever life happens, right?
Mhm.
But funny story from my past life before I was with Morgan is I did date someone who used to keep a wave count in a spreadsheet.
No,
It didn't work out for various reasons, but
the spreadsheet would have been my
the
Sorry,
spreadsheet
I'm not
was
laughing, but
no.
I'm not laughing. I'm not.
The spreadsheet was a little excessive in my mind. And the thing that also annoyed me the most was it was like about the count versus like the actual maneuvering or riding on the wave. And I was like, who cares? Like if you had 20, but you don't do anything cool on them and you just land it, like what's the point?
But did he keep your wave count? That's the real
No.
question. Okay, good. Because that would be just
No, just his
That
own.
was a
But it
good
was like a
question.
thing. And like I'd see him like entering it on the computer and I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm just taking my wave count. And it would be like Porto 10. What do you know? Whatever. And I was like, okay.
yeah, that would be a hard pass.
Hard pass. Hard pass.
Hard pass.
Hard pass.
oh, I love it.
I know. I had to share that. I don't know why that was in the recesses back there, that memory.
Yeah,
It's good
you
that
have to
got
get it
it
out. I'm so
I
glad
had
you
to
did.
get it out.
Yeah.
It's good to get it out. Okay, cool. So I definitely hope that we can collaborate with you on some level with Yoni Swell.
I think
Perhaps
Kayla
like
needs to lead like a special lesson workshop, like tips from Kayla as a pro surfer.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is like something that I'm really passionate about is like video coaching because people need to see themselves surf.
Yeah.
And like I think being in the water is really beneficial, but growing up like teaching people how to surf, like being like I know for myself and I think for probably the women that you're coaching is like video goes such a long way. And that's something that I think would be really fun just to set up here on the beach, your crew goes out who can actually, kind of catch their own waves and do that and just like see it because you're in your head and you're like, oh my gosh, I ripped that one. And then you're like, wait, that was the same wave that I thought I did 8 turns
It's
on.
so
You're
true.
like,
And you're like,
you're like, yeah, that was the one. But it's so
Yeah.
good to know. And like to me, it's so beneficial. Like
Yeah.
that's a really fun way. And you can watch your footage all the time. So just I know we spitball ideas, Jordan, but things like that I think just are really helpful for someone who really wants to get better. That's
Yeah.
I think we should do that. I'm signing up. What does it
Yeah, we're actually in the process of brainstorming and we haven't actually had the conversation yet, but I think that would be a great place to start. So we will definitely explore that. We're so grateful that you took the time to talk to us. Is there anywhere, like where can our listeners, our community learn about you?
Instagram, I document everything where I'm surfing. So if you ever want to come surf Porto with me, you'll see. I'll probably be as far away from the crowd as possible. So
Are you north or south?
Oh my gosh, my sense of direction is so bad in California.
Are you towards Dockweiler or towards
the pier?
Okay,
The pier.
you're south.
I'll park right at like Tower 30, and then I'll just like walk down. So you'll see me by myself somewhere.
I got you.
Probably on a breakboard somewhere.
I love that because I love surfing there. So I'm gonna find
honestly, Porto makes me feel like I'm at home. It's like it's just such like a homey spot for me, and everyone's so nice and I've taken a bunch of friends out there to surf who are just learning, and like everyone is so nice. And that's like what I enjoy. Like someone who's like not intimidating girls out in the water is a really big thing for me. Like,
Yeah.
so that's
I
cool.
bet
But yeah,
you know that whole like old man crew that hangs out at the south of the parking lot, Pat, who makes the little tiny surfboards.
I met some guy who makes it's called the fin pooler. I don't know if you guys know this guy. He's the best. He's some like where's he from? Like Israel. He rips, but he created this tool that like pops the fin out. So you
Oh.
meet everyone. Like everyone's created something, and everyone's like doing something cool, or like I don't know what half the people do for work because they're always at the parking lot, but it's really cool.
Yeah, I don't know either. But then I'm also like, well, what am I?
I'm part of the
doing?
parking lot too.
Because
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
working all the time.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm always brainstorming. But yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm not surfing in Porto.
But wait, what's your Instagram?
It's just at Kayla Durden. It's just my name.
Yeah, I'll find you.
Awesome. So yeah, I think we'll conclude today with a few announcements though. So Yoni Swell Surf Collective is honoring the upcoming April 8th International Women's Surf Day. And so we've been creating some really cool vignettes, video content of our current members, and they've been sharing their experience about how surf and the ocean have been bringing, and Uniswell has been bringing a positive aspect into their life, which is really cool. And then next week, we're going to have some very random, like a beach cleanup, a group surf on Wednesday for anybody who is available because it's spring break. Thursday, I'm going to be leading some Reiki group healing for anyone who wants to show up or can. And then Saturday, we are celebrating with live music and community vibes at Poseidon Surf Shop, which is in Santa Monica. And that really is just like show up. We're celebrating International Women's Surf Day with some live music, community, and some cool beverages. So if anybody listening is available and wants to join, you can find all of our information in the links below. That's what they do on YouTube. In the links below, in the description box, or on this podcast. Anyway, yeah, we have some cool things coming up, and we're so grateful for Kayla, and thank you, Ariel,
Thank
our
you.
co-host. And we'll see you guys in the lineup and on the next one. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks,
Bye,
Jojo.
everybody.
Bye.
But